Hey everyone, my name is Adam. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Fifth Person, and in this video we're going to talk about how you should invest in your 20s. Now sadly, I'm no longer in my 20s, but I used to be young and vibrant as well. So I should be able to share with you some ideas about how you should approach your money and your finances when you're in your 20s. And this is going to be different when you're going to invest in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. So if you're ready to find out more, let's get going.
If you've seen this across the internet, I think it's kind of like a meme at this point where when you're young, you have time, you have energy, but you have no money. And as you grow into an adult, you have a lot more money, you have still some energy, but you have no time. And then when you're old, you basically have all the time and money in the world, but you're too tired to do anything, all right? Or if you're like me, I have nothing, no time, no money, no energy, all right? So that's a joke, right? But this is very true if you're young. And this is going to apply to your investments and finances because what you have is time. And you don't have a lot of money when you're in your 20s. So this will affect the way you manage your money and the way you invest. So I'm going to share 7 tips with you in this video that will help you, manage your money in your 20s. Now, the first thing is you want to focus on growing your earning power. Before you can even invest, you need to have money to invest. So when you're young, you're just starting out in your career, you may not have a lot of money to invest. So the number one thing you need to do first is to make sure that you're earning money and you're growing your earning power. All right, so let me give you a very simple example why this is so important. If you only have a $10,000 portfolio and you manage to double this in size, that's a huge amount, right? You will have $20,000 and a profit of $10,000. All right, pretty impressive. But if you have $100,000 in your portfolio and you grow that by 20%, you'll grow your portfolio to $120,000 and a profit of $20,000. Let me ask you this question. Is it a lot easier to grow your portfolio at 20% compared to 100%? Definitely. So the thing is, you want to make sure that you're able to grow your savings through your earning power, and then you can invest that, and then that's when your money really starts to snowball because you have a bigger sum to compound. So if you don't have a lot of money, make sure you're focused on growing your earning power when you're still young and you have all the time and energy to do so. The next thing is you need to save at least 50% of your income. There's no point earning a lot of money and then spending everything, and then you have nothing left over to invest or save for a rainy day and all that. So when you're young, my take is that you should save at least 50% of your income. If you can save even more, that's even better, 80%. All right, but you need to save at least 50%, and you should be able to because you have very few commitments when you're young. You probably, you might be still staying with your parents. You don't have a car. You don't have to pay for a mortgage. You don't have children, I hope, right? So there are a lot of things that you don't have, and it's a lot easier for you to save your money. So just to give you like an example, let's just say your monthly salary is $2,500 and you have expenses like your food, transport, entertainment, and whatever. And then you spend about $1,250 a month. And so you have a savings of $1,250 as well. All right, so you're saving 50%. And this will go into funds set aside for a rainy day or for your portfolio down the road. But what you need to do is that you need to save money. And one quick tip here is that you want to save at least 6 months worth of expenses. So if there's anything that happens to you, maybe you lose your job, touch wood, or you need to have pay for something, there's an emergency that's coming along the way, you have some buffer with you as well. So you don't want to just go into anything without any savings. So make sure you save at least 6 months worth of expenses. The next thing you want to do is that you want to pay off your debt first. You don't want to invest, and the stock market can be a volatile place. There's risk whenever you invest. So there's no point investing and trying to make a 5-10% return and then you're still paying interest of your debt that's maybe 4 or 5% or even 25% if you have credit card debt. If you have a student debt of your own and you're paying interest on that, like you look at the interest rates over here, it's about 4 to 5% per annum. So you're paying this every single year. If you can, and if there are no penalties to doing so, you should aim to pay off your debt as soon as possible. And especially if you have credit card debt, because this is one of the highest interest rates that you will get charged. So if you take a look at this page over here, we have credit cards charging you effectively about 25% per annum. That's a huge amount. So no point trying to invest and earn 5-10% or even 20% and you're still losing because you're paying 25% out to your credit card, your credit card debt. So clear your debt before you even start to invest. Once you have your financial house in order, I think what you can do is to start thinking about building your funds. And one of the best ways you can start building towards your retirement is to contribute to your CPF special account. In Singapore, you have something called CPF, and then you have 3 accounts. Basically, your ordinary account, your special account, and your MediSave account. And then you have a retirement account that comes when you hit age 55. So in your special account, you earn a 4% interest risk-free. And I think that's pretty decent. For 4%, it's pretty hard to find elsewhere in the market, but the CPF is going to pay you 4% per annum. Sometimes we complain about this, and then we have to, meet the full retirement sum by the time we retire in Singapore, and we need to have this certain amount in our CPF. So as of January 2020, the full retirement sum that you should set aside in your CPF is $181,000, and this amount will grow every single year, at least with inflation. So if you don't contribute to your CPF, you're going to have a really hard time meeting this full retirement sum when you hit 55. So if you can, set aside some money from your savings and start contributing to your CPF special account, because that pays you 4% interest, all right? So besides your salary that goes into your CPF every single month, you can actually top up your special account on your own. And the maximum you can do so every single year is $7,000 per year, all right, into your special account, and that pays you 4% interest. If you compound it over a period of time, it is going to snowball. And if you start early, especially in your 20s, it's going to grow much, much bigger for a longer period of time. So one quick tip, if you want to, put extra money into your CPF special account, do so in January so that you have more time, an extra year basically, to earn the extra interest. And if you can see over here, you earn a little bit more interest after 10 years, 24,000 compared to 20,000. All right, so just do that at the beginning of the year. All right, so if you want to start investing in the stock market, this is what I recommend that you do first. You can start with index ETF. All right, and what the ETF does is that it buys all those stocks in the index for you at the exact weights as well. In America, we have the S&P 500 ETF, all right, and they comprise 500 of the best companies in the US. They include some of the biggest names that you immediately recognize, like Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, Visa, MasterCard, Disney, so on and so forth. So if you invest in the S&P 500 ETF, you're immediately investing in 500 of the best companies in the US, all right? So the great thing about investing across 500 companies is that, number one, of course, you have a lot of diversification. You invested in 500 different companies and the best companies in the US. And number two, you don't have to do the stock picking all by yourself. You just kind of invest the entire market. You don't have to go in and pick the stocks all by yourself. Just buy the entire market and you kind of average out your returns. And it's a very simple strategy to invest. It's kind of like a passive way of investing, and it works. So if you take a look at the data and the historical return for the S&P 500 ETF since its inception in 1993 is 9.44% on average per annum. That's a pretty decent return. So if you just by investing passively in the entire market in the US on the S&P 500, you get a 9.44% average return. All right, so I just want to say that this doesn't happen every single year. Okay, the stock market doesn't go up in a straight line. It goes up, it comes down, it can come up, it can go up and down all the time. But on average, it gives you about 9.44% based on historical performance since 1993. Now, besides investing in the index, I also suggest that you learn how to invest in stocks. And the reason for this is because as you grow older and you earn more money and you set aside more money, you're going to have a bigger amount of money to invest and manage in your 30s and 40s and 50s. And you don't want to reach that age and then start deciding to learn how to invest in stocks, because you're going to make mistakes along the way. And if you're going to make mistakes, you want to make sure that you make your mistakes when you're still managing a smaller amount of money. All right, you don't want to make mistakes when you're managing a 6-figure or 7-figure portfolio. And if you're going to start learning in your 30s and 40s, you might be a lot more busy then, and you might not have the time to do all those things. So I still suggest that even though you can set aside a majority of a portfolio in index ETFs first, all right, and then set aside a smaller portion to invest in individual stocks so that you learn how to invest and get better at it as you go along the way. So across the spectrum, there are many different ways to invest. You have a defensive, a balanced, and aggressive approach to investing in the stock market. If you're more defensive, your focus is on capital preservation or income generation and dividends. And if you want to have more capital appreciation, you want to look for growth stocks. So the thing about the one advantage of being young, all right, in your 20s, maybe in your 30s as well, is that you're able to invest in higher growth companies because you have a much longer runway to grow. If you make a mistake along the way, you still have time to correct it and still come out on top at the very end. But when you get older, and you have a lot more money saved up, you really don't want to take risks because you're going to retire soon and you don't want to lose it all. So you want to invest in something that's safer, that preserves your capital, gives you some income for your, for your living expenses and all of that. So that's one advantage of being young. You can grow your capital by investing in growth stocks. You can have a higher proportion of that compared to someone who's a lot older. All right. So how much should you have in growth stocks? How much should you have in defensive stocks? There's one rule of thumb that we call the rule of 100. What it does is basically you take 100 minus your age, and then you have whatever the answer is. So in this example, you have 100 minus 20, that's your age, and you have 80, and you would have 20% of your portfolio in defensive stocks and 80% in more aggressive stocks, growth stocks. This is just a rule of thumb, and of course, as you grow older, this will switch along the way. So for example, if you're 55, you don't want to take so much risk. You might be more defensive in your portfolio. So the rule of 100 is based on this rule of thumb that where, as you get older, you want to have more of your assets in defensive assets like in bonds and stuff like that, rather than equity. So that makes sense, and I think this also applies to the type of stocks within the stock portfolio as well. So this is a rule of thumb. You might have different risk profiles for yourself. Find something that works for you and works for your investment goals. So the question is, why should you pick individual stocks? Why can't I just invest in the entire market? Well, you can, but the thing about investing in individual stocks is that you get much higher returns if you know how to do it right. So just take a look at this chart over here. All right, as you can see, the S&P 500 since 10 years ago has grown about 148%. That's pretty decent. That's for the entire market. That's what happens if you're going to invest in the S&P 500 as an index as a whole. But if you take a look at individual stocks and you pick the right ones and you're able to identify the good ones, you get a much higher return. All right, so for example, you can see Alphabet has given a 392% over 10 years. For Facebook and Microsoft, they've given over 500% returns. And for Amazon, it has given investors over 1,000% in returns over 10 years. So you can really beat the market and really grow your capital if you pick the right stocks. So this is what happens if you invest on your own, okay? Now, there's a process to this. You can't just throw a dart at a chart or and find some stock to invest in. You need to do a bit of research, you need to do analysis, you need to have a process to find the right stocks. I'm going to share a very simple process that we use ourselves. So number one, we need to find investment ideas. Some of the best investment ideas could be right under your nose and you don't even know about them. All right, so once you find an investment idea, you need to run it through some research and analysis. So what we do is we do a process that we call the investment quadrant, and it goes through 4 quadrants: the business of the company, the management team, the financials, whether they have a long-term track record of financial performance, and of course whether the price is right. And you want to take a look at the valuation, whether you should invest at this point in time. So what happens is when you run through a stock through this process, you end up with a watch list of stocks that pass the criteria, and you add them onto your watch list. And then when the price is right, you get in, you enter, and you build your portfolio. Sometimes you need to sell your stocks because prices go too high or fundamentals change, and then you exit a stock at times as well, and then you might have to put it back on the watch list. But overall, this entire process is to make sure that you're focused on finding the right kind of stocks for yourself, and you want to grow your portfolio over time from 10,000 to 100,000 to 7 figures and beyond. And one little tip I can give you when you're still young is that you can actually trade stock with fractional trading. So for example, maybe when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of money, you only have $5,000 in your portfolio. And this can be a bit limited in the kind of stocks you can invest in. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have $5,000 and you want to invest in 5 different stocks, and you want to diversify across 5 different stocks equally, so $1,000 each. But let's just say you want to buy Amazon, but Amazon is trading at about $3,200 right now. If you were to buy Amazon, this is going to take up 3/5 of your portfolio straight away. So you might not want to do that, and you can't just fit Amazon into just one compartment of your portfolio. So what you can do is that you invest through a fractional share. So instead of buying 1 share, you can buy 0.3 of a share. All right, and then that will be able to fit into your allocation within your portfolio. So the thing is, Some brokerages offer fractional trading, some don't. And the one of the really good brokerages out there that does it is Interactive Brokers. So the thing about Interactive Brokers is that it charges $10 a month in monthly commissions if you don't make at least 10 trades a month, or if you don't have $100,000. But the good news is, because if you're in your 20s and if you're below 25, they only charge $3 a month. So I think this is a really good deal if you don't know about it. For people who are still below 25, Interactive Brokers really gives a discount to the monthly fee if you haven't really considered a broker for yourself. Now, the last thing you want to do is that you want to set your financial goals. You want to have a plan to get to somewhere. All right, so let me just give you an example. Maybe you get out of school in your 20s, maybe you're 22, and then you're going to be able to work all the way until your 30s. All right, so that's going to be about 8 years in your 20s to 30s, because I think we could get out of school at 20 as well. All right, so the question is, what happens if you save $1,250 a month, all right, and invest at 4% per annum over 8 years? What are you going to get at the end of it? And I'm using 4% because that is the minimum risk-free rate that we have from the CPF special account. All right, so I'm going to use 4%. So what are you going to have at the end when you reach 30 years old? So if you take out a financial calculator, you put in the figures, this is what you're going to get after 8 years of saving $1,250 a month. That's about $15,000 a year, and then you invest it at 4%. It's going to grow to $138,000. That's a good amount of money. All right, and it's because you've been very consistent with your savings and your investments. And the thing about investing in your 20s is that you're not trying to be the next Warren Buffett. You're not trying to become a multi-millionaire by the time you're in your 30s. The goal in your 20s when you want to invest is to make sure that you're able to set a financial base for yourself. Grow a financial base so that you're able to grow your money further in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond. You want to make sure that you have a good start. So this is what it's all about. So you want to make sure that you learn how to invest, you save money, don't spend so much, you have so many commitments, and you grow this portfolio, this capital that you have for yourself. So if I'm going to summarize everything that I've shared with you in this video, these are the 7 things that you need to consider. Number 1, you want to grow your earning power. So you want to make sure you save at least 50% of your income. If you can save even more, please do so. Pay off all your debts, your student debt, credit card debt. Make sure you don't have all these debts hanging over your head. Number 4, you want to contribute to your CPF special account, because that gives you 4% interest guaranteed every single year, and it allows you to build your full retirement sum much quicker. You can be able to get there by the time you retire. Number 5, if you want to start investing, start with index ETFs. It's a lot simpler to start with. You're investing the entire market. You kind of average out your returns, but it's an easy and passive way to start investing in the markets. And number 6, you want to learn how to invest in stocks as well, because that will give you an advantage when you want to pick individual stocks as you grow older, and you want to increase the portfolio returns for yourself. And number 7, make sure you set a financial goal so that you have a target to hit, and that can give you a lot of motivation to stay on track and make sure that you manage your money and your portfolio right.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please share it with your friends and family. Click the like button, and of course, if you have any comments, just put them in the comment section. We'd love to have a conversation with you. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and we'd love to send you more new videos as we publish them along the way. And if you're interested to find out more about how you can invest in high quality growth stocks, especially in your 20s, you can head to thequadrantstrategy.com, and we have more free video content for you as well. So you can just go to thequadrantstrategy.com. So once again, thank you so much for watching this, and we'll see you around.